Hi, Happy New Year! I'm Morgan, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in December of 2020 and also kind of just wrapping up my entire year. However, I'm not going to be going into too much depth because I'm going to do separate videos on my favourite books of the year and my least favourite books of the year, so you have that to look forward to. So the first book I read in December was Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken, and I gave this 5 stars. I'm going to rant a lot about this series because I really loved it. So welcome to Morgan Has Too Many Opinions. When I read the first book, I really enjoyed it, but then I got to the end and I was really mad about the ending. Spoiler, if you don't want to hear it, I'm going to say like 2 lines. The fact that Ruby takes Liam's memories made me really angry, and I didn't want to read the rest of the series, but obviously I eventually did. So this is the second book in the Darkest Minds trilogy. Is it technically a trilogy? Like, there's a 4th book, but this is a trilogy that the first 3 books are a trilogy, and then the 4th one is kind of like a sequel, so I'm just going to call it a trilogy. So basically in this universe, it's set in the US, and all of the kids in a certain generation, like a certain time frame, get sick and die, and those who don't die develop essentially superpowers. And depending on the type of power that they have, they are categorised by colour so that you can kind of know who's dangerous and who's a little less dangerous. So in Never Fade, our protagonist Ruby is working with the Children's League, who are kind of a rebellion, underground, secret community. I don't know exactly what they call themselves. I think it's a rebellion. I don't know. Ruby is mainly just trying to deal with her own abilities and what they mean for her, and kind of put up with the fact that everyone there has their own goals and they don't all focus on the kids. Ruby really just wants to get the kids out of the camps because she knows exactly what it's like and she doesn't think any child should be there. And then she meets Liam's brother Cole. They find out that Liam has this USB drive that has information that the Children's League need, and then Ruby is sent off to find Liam. I just said sent off. I don't think she was supposed to. No, I'm pretty sure her and Cole decided it. Yeah, she's not supposed to go, but she does, because she's Ruby. It's all very dramatic. I liked the way Alexandra Bracken introduced the new characters and kind of showed that different kids survived in different ways. They didn't all have the same sort of life as like Ruby and Liam and Chubbs and Zoo. There was other kids who never got involved in all of that, but they still didn't have the best time. You know, their lives were still hard. Particularly, I loved Jude. I love him with my whole heart, and spoilers, but his ending, like the way he was at the end of the book, oh, heartbroken, and oh, I cried, man. And I'm kind of running out of things to say because I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the writing. It's nice to read kind of YA stuff that's written really well, because unfortunately some of the YA dystopian that was out like years ago, like what year did this come out? Yeah, like Never Fade is 2013, so The Darkest Minds would have been before that. So kind of that era, early 2010s YA sometimes can be a hit and a miss. Like, it'll be fun, but it's not always well written. But I did find that this series was really well written, and I literally put this down and immediately picked up the next one, that's just such a good feeling. It's been a while since I've been able to do that, so that was good. And they have kind of melded together in my head, so I don't have a lot to say about like plot or whatever, because just the 2 books have become one. The next book I read was the sequel, In the Afterlight by Alexandra Bracken, and this is the last in that kind of overarching trilogy about Ruby. I also gave this 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. In this book, Ruby and her friends are setting out to try and help other kids, even if they are only kids themselves, because the adults that they thought they could trust turned out not to be trustworthy and not to have their best interests at heart. I loved that Clancy was a prisoner. I actually thought that was really, really funny. Like, obviously it's serious and there's like a plot point to do with it, but I just thought it was hilarious. Oh, that's what he gets. It's what he deserves. One of the things this book did really well was showing that the characters are kids, because I think we forget just how young some of them are and just how traumatized they are. They've been through so much, and in this book they actually acted like scared, traumatized kids just trying to do good. Ruby and Liam's relationship, I love them. I love them. I really do. I'm gonna need YA authors to stop making me fall in love with all these heterosexual relationships. I have a gay reputation to uphold, but I thought I could see the moon. I don't know if it caught my double take on camera there, but it's actually just my ring light reflected in the window, and I was like, moon? It's like 2 in the afternoon. Anyway, back to the heterosexuals. I like that you can tell how much they love each other and how much they care for each other, even though they're both going through their own things, even though they're doing like stupid teenage miscommunication things. They have each other's backs and they love each other and they trust each other, like actively, like they choose to trust each other, which I just think is really nice. I also really, really liked Ruby's relationship with Cole. It was very clear how much they understood each other, even if they clashed over things, because they both have these abilities that are demonized and villainized and judged by everyone else, and it makes everyone scared of what they can do when both of them are just trying their best to control what they can do and help other people. I love that, like, one of the things that they bond about is the fact that they both love Liam, who is extremely stubborn and argues with Cole all the time because they just butt heads. But Ruby and Cole both love Liam and they want what's best for him, even though they both understand that Liam is going to be Liam no matter what. And as I was reading, specifically in The Afterlight, I didn't feel it so much in Never Fade, but as I was reading in The Afterlight, I was so scared that Alexandra Bracken was going to make it like a love triangle. I hadn't actually realised that the last book isn't technically part of the trilogy. So I thought that there was going to be this and then there was going to be one more book about like Ruby and all of those people. That's a lie, it's the same characters. I'm tired. So I hadn't realised that the last book isn't really, it's not the same as the trilogy. Like the trilogy all happens consecutively and then the last book is a bit of a time jump and like there's a new protagonist. So I thought this was going to be the second to last book and that she was going to bring in a love triangle, and I was so scared. I was like, please don't do this to me, please don't, because I knew that if she did it would ruin how I felt about this book. But she didn't and I'm so proud. She kept them as just really good friends, which I think made the connection between Ruby and Cole that much stronger. It meant that much more because it was just a trust that they had. They understand each other and they trust each other, and it's just a deep friendship without it being like sexual or romantic or anything like that, and I was really, really happy with that. Like I said, I love Liam and Ruby, but Ruby and Cole's relationship really did become one of my favourite relationships in the book. I love a good platonic relationship where you basically become siblings. I'm always here for that. So yeah, I love that. And honestly, I think that's one of the things that endears me to this series so much, because a lot of it is about the relationships. It's about trusting other people even if you have reason not to. All of the relationships feel real and they feel complicated. Sometimes relationships can be really two-dimensional in books, especially in YA from this time period. Like I said, it's a whole thing. I've read a lot of them. It's kind of a fact. But all of our main characters, they all just love each other and they care for each other. But that doesn't mean that it's all sunshine and roses. It doesn't mean that they all just get along all the time and they all agree. They still argue, they still fight, they still struggle, but it all comes down to the fact that they love and trust each other and that they know they have each other's backs even if the entire world does not. I do think the ending was quite quick. It kind of wrapped up really quickly. And it wasn't bad, I just thought it was a bit too quick. However, I did like that it was still clear that even though the ending happened quite quickly, everything that was going on in the book, everything with the government and all the young people, it hadn't just been fixed. It hadn't all just gone away. There was still work to be done. But there was a kind of hope in the end because the kids finally had power. Someone was finally listening to them. And I do think that was a really nice note to end on. I don't have the third book to talk about yet because that'll be in my January wrap up. But just know that the entire series is now one of my favourites. So I'm really glad that I read them. I didn't actually read a lot in December because I had essays and I was really working on my dissertation, which I put in last week. So that's that done now, thank God. But by the end of December, like, my brain just turned off. Honestly, I just listened to podcasts and watched some movies and played Animal Crossing because, yeah, my brain just, no thoughts, head empty. So the only other thing I did read in December was Affinity by Sarah Waters. This was a reread for one of my essays. Look at all of these post-it notes. I didn't even read post-it notes. Well, they are post-it notes, but they're tabs, but they're post-it notes. I didn't even use all these. But these are all the tabs I made while I was reading so that I could write an essay. Yeah. English literature is not fun. Well, it is fun, but it's not easy. So I have done an actual review of this because I read it earlier on in the year. And I'll, I don't know, tag it, name it, something. I'll let you know which video it's in if you want to go and look at it. This is basically just queer Victoriana. Is it called Victoriana? I don't know. It's Victorian, neo-Victorian is the class that this was for. So the main character, Margaret, is just, she's just very gay. She's very gay, and that's kind of the only takeaway I have from this because that's kind of what my essay was about. It's also all I wrote. Yeah. My notes just say, I've already done a review, Margaret is very gay. So, yeah. As you can tell, my brain really wasn't functioning at the end of the month. So, like I said, I'm going to do a kind of mini wrap-up of 2020 because I will be doing separate videos to talk about the best and the worst books because I have opinions. So, I do my Goodreads goal every year. I say every year. I've been doing it since 2017, so, you know, every-ish year. And my goal is always to read 100 books. And I didn't actually reach it in 2020. I only read, I think it says 94 in my Goodreads goal. It's kind of complicated because of the way I mark down some of them. Like, some of them are plays that I actually read, like 3 plays in one book. So it depends. So I read 93, 94 books depending on how I'm marking them. I was actually quite disappointed because I was so close to my 100. But like I said, my brain just wasn't having it. And I read for pleasure. Like, as much as I read for university, I have books I have to read. But outside of that, I read because I enjoy it. And, you know, I'm not going to push myself to read so much more because I want to enjoy the books. And if I'm not in the mood where I know I'm going to enjoy it, I don't see the point in reading. So because last year was just so everywhere, you know, my mental health wasn't the best. Life was just a lot. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who was kind of disappointed in 2020. Including in my reading goal. But it's all done now. It doesn't matter anymore. And I'm still glad that I got, you know, 94, that's still a lot of books. And I do plan on reading 100 books this year. Again, I'm probably never going to change that number. It's an attainable number for me. Like, I like to put it pretty high because I'm competitive with myself. And if I set myself a goal, I am more likely to reach it. But I have found that I can do 100. Like, that's not too many for me. I see some people's and it's like way more than that, like 150, 200 books, and I'm like, damn, like I'm impressed. But really, just reading any books is a great thing, especially at the moment, especially with the way the world is and just how hard it is to kind of exist. So if you're like me and you didn't hit your target, don't be too hard on yourself and just do your best again this year, because that's what I'll be doing, so we can do it together. I still have something like 50 unread books in my physical TBR, so hopefully I will work my way through them. I've got some plans for this year. I'm gonna do an unhaul soon because I'm getting rid of a bunch of books, not too many, just probably gonna sell some. And I'll probably do another haul in a couple of months once I accumulate some books because, you know, quarantine. And hopefully I'll try and do some other videos that aren't just me updating you on what I have read. I'll try and do some recommendations and some lists and I don't know, whatever I see. Try and do some tag videos. I had a whole tag video recorded that I was gonna do in December. And then I watched it back and I was like, I don't want to post this. So I'll try not to do that again. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love if you could like, comment, subscribe, come chat to me in the comments, come chat to me in my social medias, all of which will be linked in the description box down below. Hopefully I'll have my best and worst books of 2020 videos out within the next couple of weeks and we can just get that all done and leave 2020 in the rear view. And again, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!